Hey friends, in this video I'd like to give you some insights in my current Claude Code setup and also some kind of lessons learned I had. And I'm gonna start here with my current application which I used or created with Claude Code, which is a Streamlit application. So it's Python based, completely Python based, and it allows to sign up via an account. This account is backed by Supabase, so just to give you some kind of insights about the project itself. So we have a Supabase database in the backend, which stores the user sessions and chats securely so that each user has its own session. It also allows uploading documents, which are stored in a Dockerized quadrant vector store, and it also allows you to interact with a large language model in general. So asking questions, general questions, or also I also added a tool, so a function for the LLM just to test that. So it also allows you to check up latest stock prices as an example. So, and it also has an OAuth via Google, so you can sign up via a Google account. It runs on localhost, but of course if you deploy it, that would also work. All you need for that is you need to, of course, project in the Google console, which I created, and then you basically need to just point to the local host, and then you can actually also use third-party signups, which are actually backed by Supabase. So long story short, this is more or less the project setup. And now if I go in here and just give you some introduction, so I just log in now by username and password. I can do that here. I can go to sign in, and then I'm here, and you can see that there's my email, there's my session ID, and then I have here my dashboard where I can see the documents I've uploaded, the chunks which are stored. So because we do some kind of chunking strategy in the backend, right? So that the document is stored chunked first into specific chunks and then stored in the vector store. We can see here the vectors, the conversations we had, and so far. So we also have got some kind of insights of our current stats. And then we can either upload a document, so go to document section here, or go to upload document, right? And then we can drag files here. I specified PDF file, text file, markdown files, but of course it could be extended. In this case, I'm just using this, including some kind of additional security features called this way, that there's a maximum file size implemented, and then there's also some kind of other security features implemented, like be careful with some kind of naming conventions you allow when you upload documents, and other kinds of features you have, right? That's also true, by the way, for the chat itself, right? So there is no prompt injection in the case of, for instance, some kind of SQL injection, which exists in other kinds of security issues, which are also implemented in that. So long story short, it might not be the most prettiest app you've ever seen, but that's maybe because it's just a Streamlit and not some kind of fancy web front end. But more or less, more important is right now actually the implementation on how I did that with Claude Code. So, and that's what I like to share with you here. So let's go back to, in this case, I'm using Cursor, but you can also use any other kind of code editor, because more or less I'm using Claude Code in a terminal. I'm on a Windows computer, just by the way, I want to mention that. And then that's why I'm using WSL here to use Claude Code. That's basically it. And the other two terminals here is the Streamlit application currently running, and the third terminal is currently running my Docker container, as you can see here. So that's basically it. So now more or less about the structure itself. So if you have some kind of IT background regarding IT projects, that you probably know that you have various roles in these projects. That also holds true for other kind of project management outside of IT, but in IT specifically, you normally have certain kinds of roles, right? And so you have maybe a product owner, then you have a scrum master, you have then various team roles, so developers which are included, and other kinds of persons. And this is specifically then a setup which you can think of if you think of your project which you want to develop. So you want to actually use the AI, and the AI can assume all these roles. And that's what Claude subagents are actually for, right? Because in Claude, we have the option to create subagents. And this, of course, can be done by simply go inside Claude Code, and then if you, of course, search for /agents, right, like that, then you can create your subagents here. And that's what I did. And this now depends, of course, on the size of your project, let's say it this way. I mean, if you just create a simple application, there is no need to create too many specific subagents for different tasks. I get that. On the other hand, if you want to create a huge IT project, then it makes much more sense to have these various roles implemented. So you will have a Scrum Master, maybe. You will have a product owner, which is responsible for creating a product requirements document. You will have then a developer. You will have maybe a software architect who decides, okay, what's the best strategy to implement that. You will have some kind of security experts and so on, who is then reviewing the code and make sure that you don't get any kind of prompt injection or other kind of flaws in your code, right? So there's some kind of testing agents and so on. So could be everything, by the way, but as I said, it depends on your project. But in this case, I'd like to show you what I'm doing. Because I also tried another framework, and you can look that up, which is called BMAT. BMAT is also a pre-configured actually framework you can install on Claude Code, and then you have various agents at your disposal. It's a very interesting and I think very great framework. So shout out to the developer of this and the maintainers. It's just maybe too big for your project. As I said, it depends on your project. But I used some of the lessons learned there and which I found. And in this project here, I have the following strategy. And this is my current setup. And feel free to also try that out for yourself, or maybe also adjust it to your needs. But currently I have, if I go to the Claude itself, in the .claude files, in my project I have the agents folder. And these agents are created if you type in /agents in here. So if you go, let me go back in here, agents, like that, right? Just like that, and you go there, and then you can actually start. Let me make that a little bit bigger, so you can start actually create your agents. So, and here you can see various agents which currently exist in my project, and I can also show it to you here. If I go to agents in here, these are the agents I currently have. So what I did was, to start the project, I had my product manager agent, and this agent was actually only responsible for more or less to create the product requirements document. So I just entered exactly a description of what kind of app I want to create, and then based on that, product manager then defined the product requirement document, and that's his sole purpose, nothing more. So he should not define any kind of code structure or any kind of implementing of code. That's not his business. His role in our IT team, and this is what we have basically with Claude Code, we have various agents which belong to our IT team, right? So they replace more or less a human. And this product manager, as I said, is only responsible for setting up the requirements document. This is his final task. And then as soon as he's done with that, then I want him to hand over the work more or less to the next role, which is then the technical architect. The technical architect is then taking a look at the product requirements document. I walk you just through the thinking process I had, right? So it's walking through the document, the PRD file, which is stored in here in my memory bank. There is actually the project brief. In this case, that's one here, and it gives us more or less an exact description of what I want to have. So let me just go ahead. Let me just exit Claude Code for now. Okay, and let's make this bigger, and you can see basically what this looks like. So I have a problem statement in here. I have a solution approach. I have the target users. Then I have success criteria for the project, a project scope. So what's in scope, what's out of scope. And then I have key constraints. So that's basically an open questions, just in case my product requirement at the beginning was not clear. So I want him actually to ask me questions if something is ambiguous. But that's basically the idea. And this is kind of similar to what you have in a normal IT project, right? So also there you have, you have a project description, you have then what kind of pain is this project solving for, what are the product specific requirements, what are the success criteria, what is in scope, what is out of scope, and so on. So all this is part of a normal project as well. Of course, as I said, you can also extend this, but for me, this currently works, this setup, and that's why I tried it that way. And this is created by the product manager. Then we have, as I said, the technical architect, which more or less takes this product brief and then defines, okay, based on that, how should we implement it? What should be the IT structure? What kind of software, or in this case, code do we want to use? What kind of coding structure do we want to use? What kind of classes should we have? What should be the project folder structure, and so on? All this is done by the technical architect. And as soon as he is done with that, then we start with the implementation. And this is also not part of his deal then, because then he hands over to the next one, which is then the project implementer. This agent, the project implementer, is then really the developer itself. So this is our developer team. It's only one agent, but you can think of it like the developer team in a bigger project. And this agent is really then implementing the team. And if you want to extend this, I could imagine, for instance, if you have really specific front end in, for instance, Next.js or in React, and you have a backend maybe in Python, and then you could say, okay, I have a front end developer, I have a backend developer. Or I have a UX designer, right, for the front end, and then I have also a front-end developer, and then I have a back-end developer, for instance. It depends on your project, as I said. But this guy is then responsible for implementing the project. And then important to me is then also the next agent. Because after implementing the project, Then I thought, okay, now I have an application, but this application is far from production ready because there might be security flaws in my project, right? Which I'm not aware of. I have some code now, but maybe I'm not an expert in specific code structure. For me, as an example, when I create something in a front end with React or Next.js, I don't know about this. I'm not a front end developer in this case. I know some Python, but I don't know the front end code. So I need someone who really makes sure that the code is secure, so that the code could actually be deployed to production. That's the main point here. And that's why I have then the security auditor. This agent, the sole purpose of this agent is just reviewing our whole code structure and figuring out, okay, now we have a project implemented. I also tested it manually myself. Okay, it is working so far. All the things, the features are working. Everything is fine. Now, please take a look at that and tell me where are these security flaws. So tell me where the flaws are and also fix them then step by step, right? That's the idea. And this is what happens with this security auditor during the project. So he is then just going through all the project setup. He's telling me exactly, okay, there, for instance, there's a login and there we have some kind of sessions and we want to avoid that. For instance, there's some kind of injection in the session or other kinds of security flaws, which normally might happen and actually often happen even in today's time, which you read then in the newspaper or on some blog. But to ensure that this won't happen for the project, I have this security auditor or security advisor, whatever you're going to call him. And he is, as I said, responsible for doing that. And only after his review and also giving me some output, what he fixed and what the problems were, then one more time, of course, we make sure that the project still works. Because I also, for instance, experienced that the security auditor did some kind of security adjustments and implemented heavy security, but then I had the problem that the code didn't work anymore. So the project wasn't working simply because some kind of session IDs and so on did not really transfer into the right database and other kinds of things. So then, of course, we need to go over that, and this means iteration. So I'm not saying that this works perfectly. I had to iterate over that a few times. So keep that in mind. So whatever you see on the internet, if someone tells you, yeah, I did that in one go, I would highly at least doubt that and take that with a critical eye. But as I said, you need to do some kind of iteration, and then after that you have a code which is also production ready, and that's the important point here, right? You can build the greatest interface in the world, but if you cannot bring it to production or it has major security flaws, your app, then this is something you don't want to set up or give out to the world. So after doing this, then I have also a release manager sub-agent. I didn't try that so far, but this guy would actually help me to really set this up then and make it public to the world. But that's basically the sub-agents I have. And this is basically my product team, which I have. And what I'd like to know, of course, is your experience so far. So maybe you have done something different. If so, please let me know. Otherwise, if you have some kind of feedback, or also maybe something you would say I should do differently, also let me know, and feel free to to share your own setup, of course, with me. And if you haven't done so far, please subscribe to the channel. Please give the video a thumbs up and also share it with other kinds of colleagues, friends, whoever is interested in that. So thanks a lot, take care, and hopefully see you in the next video. Until then, best guys.